The only Stephen King book I'd read before this one was The Stand, which I liked but didn't love. There were some elements of the book, such as how the ending really dragged, that made me want to take a bit of a break from reading some Stephen King. When I came across this in the secondhand bookshop though, I thought maybe it's time to venture back into the Stephen King Multiverse. Despite the fact that this book has a movie poster cover, and not just a movie poster cover, a movie poster of a poorly received remake. No one wants that. Anyway, what better book to give Stephen King more of a go than the book that started it all, the cultural icon, Carrie. Now, if you clicked on this video because of the thumbnail, you're probably thinking, get to the part where the red's dripping from his face. Well, one thing that Carrie taught me was that these moments are more impactful when you don't see them coming. What up, fiction fam? Welcome to Down to Read if you're new here, or welcome back if you're a regular. Either way, we see you and we appreciate you. My name is Stephen, and this is my spoiler-free review of Stephen King's horror novel, Carrie. Even if you aren't a Stephen King fan, and I'm not sure if I am or not yet, you have to give him credit for blazing the trail and inspiring so many authors. Carrie, the book that started it all, is now part of the zeitgeist. Even if you haven't read the book, you're probably vaguely aware of the story, or perhaps have unknowingly seen some parodies of it. But indulge me as I give a brief recap of the story before going into my thoughts on this modern classic. Like many of Stephen King's books, this one's set in a small town in Maine. But not Castle Rock, Carrie lives in a town called Chamberlain. Carrie is an unpopular 16-year-old girl who's bullied and tormented by her peers at high school. There's a scene early in the book where Carrie has her first period, and because her mother never taught her about menstruation, she doesn't know how to deal with it. Seeing this poor girl panic, do the other girls in the locker room go to comfort her and see if she's okay? Nope. They instead bully and tease her, in for what for me at least is one of the harder scenes to read in this book. Now let's talk about her mother, Margaret. Margaret is both emotionally and physically abusive to Carrie. She's the main, but not only antagonist, and you'll come to hate her for the things that she's done to poor Carrie. Margaret is staunchly religious, a fanatic, and seems to think anything to do with sex is a sin.
Committed the son of lustful thoughts.
No, Mom!
Oh, don't lie to me, Carrie. Don't you know by now I can see inside you? I can see the sin as surely as God can.
Even when Carrie goes to her mum to seek comfort after having her first period, Margaret reacts by locking her in a cupboard.
Tell us a story 16.
As it must be because Carrie sinned that's caused this natural process to commence. Margaret's rash reactions, based on a very skewed view of the world, make all the interactions between Carrie and her mother feel tense. These events, the bullying and the abuse, cause Carrie to rediscover some telekinetic abilities that she has. She recalls times that she was able to make the seemingly impossible happen when she was a child after suffering abuse, and she now wonders if she can use these powers at will.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
Something I didn't expect when I started reading this book was all the scientific journal extracts, magazine articles, and testimonials that are interspersed throughout the story. These pieces of fictional media, which typically tell the story of what happened on prom night, make even the supernatural events feel more real. Through these various forms of media, we learn that Carrie's telekinetic abilities will cause some terrible things to happen. Now, although I knew it was all heading towards disaster, I found myself wanting Carrie to develop these powers to be able to take control of her life and maybe shut up a bully or two. Speaking of the bullies, another interesting narrative choice that Stephen King's made with this one is to tell it from the third person perspective, which allows us to follow the lives of some of Carrie's bullies. After the locker room incident that I mentioned earlier, some of these bullies, like Sue Snell, are able to reflect on what they've done to poor Carrie and try to do right by her, even going so far as to get their boyfriend Tommy to invite Carrie to the prom.
If you don't have a date for the prom next Friday, would you like to go with me? To the prom?
Whereas other bullies, like Chris, seem to think that going to detention is somehow still Carrie's fault, and they want to exact revenge upon her, with the help of her psychopath boyfriend, Billy.
Get her done, man. Get her done.
I can't. You. Oh, I knew it. I knew this would happen. It's just you. Hold it there, you pig.
This revenge would ideally play out at the upcoming prom, where there'd be the most eyeballs to see Carrie's embarrassment. This contrast in the way the characters react to the same experiences make them, and the story in general, feel more real. Now, if you've somehow been able to avoid the story of Carrie and don't know where this is all going, I'll leave you to find out what happens on prom night. When we read horror books, we're often seeking that feeling of unease, of horror. This book gave me that feeling in spades, not because of the supernatural events, but rather because of the bullying and Carrie's abusive mother. These scenes that are more rooted in reality had a much bigger impact on me than the supernatural terror elements. Okay. Margaret was terrible. I hated her. But when you feel so strongly about a character, the author has done something right. If I compare this book to The Stand, although Randall Flagg was more pure evil, I hated Margaret way more than I hated Randall. In this modestly sized book, King's able to develop characters that feel real, because we see more than one side of them. Even Margaret has some scenes where we have some empathy for her. I'm not a big prequels guy, because I find stories less interesting when I know how things are going to play out. I had a similar feeling about all the articles interspersed throughout the story, which really give away how things are going to play out for Carrie and her classmates. Some moments are more impactful when you don't know when they're coming. The amount of detail that Stephen King goes into about Carrie's body, let's remember she's a 16-year-old girl, made me feel a bit uncomfortable, and not in a good, horror type of way. Some details seemed unnecessary. Maybe this makes me sound like a bit of a prude, but even with The Stand, I found like Stephen King added some unnecessarily pervy details to the book. Some of the writing is a bit dated. I get this was written 50 years ago, so maybe that's unfair criticism, but now reading it in 2026, some of the phrases used are just a bit jarring. I give Carrie 3.5 stars. Overall, I like this book, but I didn't love it. I still haven't found that book in Stephen King's catalogue that's really for me. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe, and please give us a like if you enjoyed this video. Oh, and let us know in the comments, what did you think of Carrie? Or the Stephen King book that you think could be a 5-star read for me. I've got my eyes on 11/22/63. For now though, take care, much love, we out. Zoosh. I need a shower, and maybe some chips.